I appreciate you joining us here on InDepth with PlusNTrust. We just try and find and highlight the underrated and undeniable. And we've always, obviously, we've interviewed Emma V, and she's a good homie of ours. And it's just interesting to see how all of you that had this kind of role in SoundCloud have, kind of evolved. And you talk about Japan and Korea being one of your biggest fan bases. How did that come about? What do you think it was that kind of gravitated you towards that location?
So it's really crazy. When I did my Soul Election project back in 2016, at that point or before then, I literally never had any idea about Asia, the Asian music scene, Korea. I never listened to Korean music. Obviously, I knew a little bit about Japan because I'm a huge tech nerd. I love video games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't really ever think about going there to do anything music related. So it wasn't until I released that project and all of a sudden everyone was like, yo, you're cool. And I started getting loads of messages from people in Korea and Japan and China. And I'm like, what? Okay, cool. And then I remember like maybe 2 months after that project came out, some guy messaged me, he's one of my closest Korean friends. He goes by Milik. And he has a crew that has like artists like Dean and Crush and like quite a lot of big Korean artists that I had obviously had no idea about. So I'm just thinking some random Korean dudes hit me up and asked me if I want to come to Korea. And I was a bit like, Korea? I was like, really? I was like, do they even have a music scene out there? I didn't know anything about it, but I was like, okay, cool. He's probably just joking around with me. I was like, yeah, cool. I'm down. And then we kind of like slowly talked about it over a few weeks and stuff. And then after a while, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks, I didn't hear anything from him again. So I was like, oh, that was just probably a troll or something like that. Then I woke up one morning and there was like a 2-week return flight ticket to Korea in my inbox and a flight ticket to Japan as well. And I was like,
he said, pull up. Like, pull up.
He was like, yo, pull up. Like, you shit sorted. Like, he made sure my hotel was sorted, my return flight between the UK and Korea, between Korea and Japan. He was like, yeah, we're gonna do a little tour, man. We're gonna do some shows. And I was like, whoa, you were serious. So then now pulled up to Korea, and I'm like, okay. So my initial thoughts of going to Korea was, oh, I'm black. What if they don't like me over there? Because I've never been there. So I was actually more scared of that more than anything. And then it ended up being one of the coolest places I've ever been in my entire life. And I met so many people. I've always had the craziest shows out here. I've always had the craziest love out here. And then when I started producing for Korean artists and like producing for Japanese artists and Chinese artists and stuff like that, my career just kind of went like, and even just the amount of shows I've had out here. I did one of my first live shows out here when I played instruments instead of DJing and stuff like that. And it just started to get to a point where I was like, I didn't even know how this happened. It wasn't what I expected. Realistically, I thought I was always going to be more popular in America, which I am more popular in America than in Europe. But like, yeah, it came about pretty randomly. And I've always like, tended to ask artists and people out here who like my music. I'm like, why? Like, what is it about my music or like me that, you gravitate towards me compared to like, there's just so many other people on SoundCloud who's dope. And a lot of them say it comes down to like my chords and my melodies. And just like the fact that like, they say that I'm quite colorful on social media, which is something they really, really like. And I was like, oh, okay. In that sense, I can kind of get it. But like, I had never like really expected it or thought about it, which is kind of cool. So random, unexpected, but also some of the best career defining parts of my life, to be honest. Like the fact that I could just move out here from making beats.
That's wild. I mean, that's a wild life experience right there, and a chapter in your life that you're like, okay, I live in Korea because of what I did with my music. And you've been doing this since you were a kid. Like, when did you start getting and diving into music? Like, what was it that started it all for you?
Church, always church. But I started playing guitar when I was 6.
Yeah.
I started playing violin when I was 8, and I played violin for like 3 years. But then, like me being a kid, I had this accident when I was like 8 or 9 years old, where I was playing football with my friends in the park one summer, and I tried to I kicked a football into a tree, and basically I was the one who had to go and get the ball out of the tree. So I tried to climb the tree, and then I fell out of it, and I literally like just snapped my wrist like real bad, like my bone was hanging out and stuff like that. And I couldn't play a violin for about 6 months, and then I had to do a lot of therapy to kind of get my wrist back on track. So I actually just couldn't physically play a violin, so I just gave it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I played violin for 3 years and I stopped it. And then during the time my wrist got better, I started picking up guitar a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And then I discovered FL Studio when I was 10. So I started making beats around 10, 11 years old. Then from there, just bass, drums, singing came in. So they pretty much all started from when I was a kid. Church was kind of like the main reason, because every time I go to church, there was all the crazy praise and worship sections that lasted for like, hours. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I
just
know.
sitting there just always staring at the musicians like, how are you just coming up with this? And I'm just
People
sitting
running
there
around the aisles, like
running around the aisles and screaming, but like the musicians are just keeping
in
the
there.
vibe going, and they're just switching up, and just like at the look of it, they just look at each other for like 2 seconds and they just know exactly what to do. And I'm like, I've always been amazed by that since I was a kid. So that was definitely probably the main reason, and probably where a lot of my musicality comes from.
You can hear it in the chords though. If you listen, you hear it in your chords, and just really the way that you produce is you can hear those gospel chords and church chords in there as well. So I love that part of how you do things. But for you though, when you look at all the people that you've worked with, I think there's not a box. Like even though you say that's where your influence comes from, you've just never really been able to have been put in a box. And I mean, you displayed that on your first album, your collab with K Far Away, that project you guys did, and then you just produced most of this project. But then you say you work with Korean artists and Japanese artists as well. So I guess what has really helped you become transcendent to where you don't need to have a certain sound? It's like people come looking for your sound, no matter if they rap, if they sing. Like that's a skill in its own. I feel like to be that versatile.
So for most people who know me, the Neptunes are one of my biggest influences ever.
Yeah.
And I feel like they were also like that, where, they can make rap or pop or R&B, or they had the NERD band, that was a completely different sound to the Neptunes, but it was still the same members and stuff like that. And whilst I was growing up, I had so many different phases where, I had my gospel phase, R&B, hip hop phase. I was in a death metal band for like 4 years in high school as a bassist. So I got really, really into like metal and like heavy rock and punk rock and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Started picking up Guitar Hero. That was one of my favorite games for like 5 years. I literally listened to rock for like 5 years. Then dubstep came in. Obviously, I grew up in the UK, so I grew up like watching the birth of grime and how that evolved. Drum and bass. I just went through so many different musical phases, and I've kind of pulled inspiration from all of them. And
Mm-hmm.
then also, like, I'm really inspired by video game music as well, which I feel like you can somewhat hear sometimes in the way that I choose to approach like my music.
No, for
But
sure.
all of those different things that like I've kind of grown up loving and had phases in, and learned to like kind of learn to make in those time periods. They've all just kind of come together. Where it's like, even though R&B and gospel is my first love, that's just kind of like the basis of where everything can go. You can throw any style at me. I'll probably approach it like coming from the base of R&B gospel, but it can evolve into anything. Which is something with my next album that I think I did even better than my last one, because this one's like way more diverse in terms of sound than the last one was.
Last month you said 70% done. What's the percentage now? Where are we at?
73.
This 3%. Look, progress is a process, so we'll take 73%.
Yeah, I think it's because like when I said I was 70%, then I was also kind of getting to the process of like, getting rid of my equipment, preparing to move to Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So I have significantly a lot less equipment at the moment because I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't take everything with me. Then obviously I was in quarantine for 2 weeks, so it just wasn't really the best time to make music. But like now I'm out and free, and I'm like, okay, cool, getting back on it now. So I kind of just took a break from my album for like 2 weeks and just made music freely without saying it has to be for a project or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna get back on that this week. But it's like it's already in a position where you can listen to it from start to finish and like it sounds good. But like for me, just because of the way that I am, I want to make it like more like I still want to make it even crazier than it is. I still want to
Yeah.
like kind of fill in gaps and make cool transitions and skits and stuff like that. But in terms of songs, I'm probably like one or two songs until I'm done, and then after that, it's just kind of figuring out transitions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's actually sounding pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with it, man.
That's dope, man. Do you miss like touring and doing all the things that you used to do at shows? I mean, obviously there's virtual shows and stuff now, but like it's not like it used to be. Like you guys missed the whole festival cycle and then some, I feel like at this point.
True. Um, It's really weird because like I still prefer being a producer more than performing.
Mhm.
So I do love performing, and I'm really grateful for all of the opportunities I've got to like tour as a DJ, as doing a live act, which I only started doing about 2 years ago.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't say I miss it as much as kind of like evolving as an artist.
Mhm.
So I feel like for the moment, like I do miss definitely going to shows and watching other people for sure. But in terms of like me myself missing performing, I don't really feel like I miss it that much yet, if I'm being honest.
That's,
But
I mean,
yeah.
and that's just being honest. Like, do you are well, do you miss even like the essence of like being in a packed studio, or are you cool? Like, because I feel like a lot of people had a problem with being alone and getting work done alone, and for the people that are, I guess, and it's okay because we're in a pandemic, so everybody responds
Yeah.
differently. But for the people that are like introverted or a little bit ambiverted, I feel like this is a time that just gets the creative juices going in a sense.
Because like I said before, pretty much I wouldn't even say most, pretty much all, I'd say a strong 95% of the artists I worked with aren't from the UK. So
Hmm.
being that I lived in the UK for my whole life, and I'm used to kind of working online already, it
Hmm.
feels like I've been doing this for my whole career. Like like the Zoom calls and like
I was
getting
about to
things
say, like,
uploaded.
you were way ahead of your game on
So
this aspect
yeah,
of it all.
I was already doing that for years, so it doesn't feel like, oh, this is a new thing that I have to adapt to. It's kind of like I'm already doing that. So it doesn't really feel like any different to me. I definitely do miss packed studio sessions and just vibing and being in the place with loads of people and making cool music, having a bit of a drink, playing games, whatever. But I'm kind of cool with either way as long as I get to create.
Shit, man, I really want to know though. You talk about you get a lot of your sound from video games. How the hell did you find an orange Game Boy? Like where is that come? Like, because over here in America, like we had the purple, we had the blue, we had a different couple colors, but I've never seen an orange one in America.
I think they're Japanese exclusives and the orange GameCube as well. So Japan, when I've been
Fire,
there on my trips.
fire, man. Do you still play them? Do you still play GameCube, or do you keep it
Of course,
pretty minimal?
GameCube is my favorite console of all time. Like I would,
Oh, salute.
if I had to pick out, any consoles I have, just to have one of them, I'd definitely pick a GameCube over a PS5 for sure.
Why is that though? Because I'm curious because obviously we got an advancement in technology, but I feel like GameCube at its purest form was what gaming was about. I feel like that was the one system that they completely got it right with.
I really do feel like that as well. And just because like like having the 4 players, and I feel like that was like Nintendo's first like Nintendo 64 was their first try doing 3D.
Yeah,
But then like the GameCube was where they got 3D right, and
facts.
they did 3D great, and the games were so good, and just like the whole multiplayer aspect, and just like I don't know, the games just felt good and they didn't hold your hand all the way through them like they do now. Like I feel like games are always like, oh, you're struggling, do this, try that, do that. Like
Mhm.
back then, you really had to just sit there and figure it out. Like there was no way to know unless you tried it. You have to fail like 10 million times. Whereas nowadays, you can you can buy your way through a game. You can buy your power ups and all that kind of stuff, and
Crazy. I hate
it
that.
doesn't even like really teach you the essence of like just figuring it out for yourself. Like now you can just run to YouTube if you get stuck or whatever. Well, back in the day, you had to buy like a walkthrough book or something
You
just to
remember
figure
like
it
you had to pay like $9.99 just to get through level 6, part 5. And like now it's just easy. Like you said, you can just go on YouTube and find it. But like I feel like we came up like right when YouTube was obviously we saw the birth of it, but like you could find some walkthroughs on some games, but it wasn't as
wasn't
abundant as
many.
it is now.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely remember like the very start of YouTube where you would see people playing stuff. It was like only the really popular games, like San Andreas and
Facts.
like maybe like Sonic Adventure or like the FIFA games and stuff like that. But you wouldn't really find anything on like the low key ones. So yeah, I definitely remember that.
What costume do you have on right now?
So I'm the Hulk apparently, but
Yo, come on.
yeah.
Best action figure in my opinion. I'm biased though. Like I rock with the Hulk a lot. If you had to tell me to choose one superhero, even though he's not like really a superhero, that'd be the person that I choose. I feel like.
No, I feel you. I feel you. I feel like it's either going to be Hulk or Spider-Man for me as well.
Were you big on the Spider-Man game that came out? I think it was it GameCube? I think they had one on GameCube. I'm not sure.
Yeah, like I've played every Spider-Man game, but
Salute.
anybody who's played a Spider-Man game, you always know, man. Spider-Man 2 was the GOAT.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Spider-Man 2 was the ultimate GOAT of all Spider-Man games.
Yo, we're on the same page, man. That's what's up, bro.
Yeah,
Nah,
man.
man. I think about it often and just how like the music business has changed over the past year and some change. But like before everything happened, where did you feel like you were as an artist? You said you've been, kind of getting more into your artistry. What was it like for you before? What were you focusing on before, or what was kind of your process like then, and how has it changed? And since you last dropped your album in 2019.
So when I dropped my album in 2019, the album was actually really, really old. But I used to be signed to Sony for about 2-3 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I started working on that album in like 2016 maybe. And just a bunch of things happened during that time. I had to start it again. I lost files. I'd broken laptops, failed relationship, my very first one. And then like all of that kind of stuff just kind of contributed to like why that took so long. Then when the album came out in 2019, I decided to like, okay, maybe I'm going to try the singing thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that some people were like, it sounds actually pretty good. Like, and I didn't expect such a positive response to it, because I know everybody knows me for making beats or for producing for other people, but not so much making my own projects.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like the first time I decided to like kind of just try it, test the waters and a few songs and just see how it is. That ended up going really, really well. And then I feel like towards like mid to end 2019, I was kind of like, okay, cool. I feel like maybe you should kind of like mess with this idea a bit more and like, develop the idea. And then that's when I started doing the green screen videos that I've been doing, where, I'll have like 60 of me on the screen or something, just dancing to like some weird shit and just writing my own songs. I just felt like that'd be a cool way to kind of present me being an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And those probably did more for my career than anything else. Like those did more for my career than my album did, considering I only did like 6 videos or something like that. But
Yeah.
as soon as I got to like the Windows XP one, for example, which is like what I dropped like somewhere like mid last year, and like even the
That blew
attention that I
up.
got
That
from
blew
that
up.
one, that one really, really blew up. And I was like, okay, cool. So I feel like people mess with me being an artist now, not just being a beat maker.
Yeah.
So like they know that I make beats and I produce, but now they know that I sing and songwrite as well, which has been dope, because then last year I feel like I had the most vocal features, like featuring on other people's beats or other people's tracks. And also making the Ice Cream Clones EP out of all the songs from the videos, and
Mm-hmm.
starting to work on my own projects, my next album and stuff like that. I feel like 2020 definitely kind of steered me into like not just making beats, not just being a producer, but just being like an overall artist. So I'm actually pretty grateful for that. It gave me more time to get better at video editing and shooting videos, and getting better at like writing songs and recording myself, and kind of learning how to like alter my beats for me to have space to sing on. Because sometimes I know that like when I work with an artist, I know how to produce for an artist, but then when it's just me, sometimes I can, for the people who know my beats for a long time, I can go really, really intense and crazy with the beats where they're a bit like too much going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to kind of learn to tone that down for myself, or like learn to make it work together. And I feel like I had the time to do that last year finally, because I was always so busy producing for other people that I never had time to sit down and focus on my own artistry.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm pretty grateful for like, even though I know last year was quite tough for a lot of people, myself included, but like I'm actually really happy that last year happened. Not so much the pandemic, but just the time that it's given me to like learn and grow in my musicality, in myself as a human, just everything. So I'm pretty happy for it.
I feel like we got forced to look within self and kind of clean some things up, fix some things, figure some things out as a whole, and
100%.
also in our professional careers as well. But how happy are you now to just be comfortable in self and be doing what you love while also loving you? Like I feel like those have to go hand in hand at times for it to really be
They do.
successful.
Yeah, I think last year, the year where I really figured it out, and I feel like the videos probably played a large part in that, because I feel like before, like for example, when I used to kind of be like more within like the DJ scene, the selection scene and stuff,
Mhm.
I noticed I had a tendency to kind of like always act like I was really cool and play off like I was super like, oh, look at me, I'm so cool, because that's what everybody was like in
That's
that
a
scene.
vibe, yeah.
And like I was never like that. I just kind of came to this scene, you know, started getting a lot of attention. And I thought that's what people wanted.
Mhm.
And then like the more and more like I was in that, I started to get really unhappy with myself. And I didn't really, you know, I felt like I was just like lying to myself for like a year or two, where I just didn't like any of the music I was making. I didn't like anything I was putting out. I didn't like my DJ sets because it wasn't music that I know I wanted to play. It was
Mhm.
just more that I knew people would like this kind of stuff because of like who I'm associated with. And then I feel like once I had the time to kind of get used to like doing things the way that I wanted to do it, and you know, I didn't have like a label breathing down my back or like anybody like kind of like having expectations of me, and I start just being my normal goofy self, which I'm, you know, just like wearing onesies, like doing some like, you know, sometimes when I have good food and I get really happy, you know, you do the happy food dance and stuff like that.
Yes, sir.
I feel like I just kind of came back to myself, like
Yeah.
fully like, yo, this is me. Like, I like wearing onesies. I like playing video games. I like being colorful. I like writing songs about Windows XP. Who the hell cares about Windows XP? It's 2021. Like,
Yeah.
Windows XP is really old. But
Nostalgic.
like, I think Windows XP is cool. And you know, just things like that. Like, I was like, why don't I just be myself and talk about the things that I'm interested in? Share the memes that I'm interested in. I don't care about being cool anymore. I just want to be happy with the way that I am, and this is who I am. And that has been way better for me, for my life, and my career, than like any other part of my career, I think.
That's real. Thank you for being vulnerable here on. This is a
Yeah,
safe space here on InDepth with PlusNTrust. I don't know if you figured that you were going to go this deep before you even hit noon over there in Korea, but
not at all.
hey, man, we unpack things here, and I appreciate you for doing that. You're getting close to finishing the second album, but for the people that are watching this and are getting hip to you, going to go listen to the essential playlist of you that we made. What are 2 songs that they have to hear from you to kind of get a gist of who you are?
uh,
He's like, damn it.
there's a lot of songs, man.
There's a lot of
um,
songs. Choose 2 of your favorite. How about that you've made?
I would say "The Sun Shines So Bright with You" that I released last year,
Mhm.
and probably "Catch Me" from Press Out to Continue.
Okay. Those are 2 good selections, in my opinion, man. Appreciate you as always joining us here. Looking
Thanks for
forward
having
to
me.
look forward to seeing you in Korea someday when we can travel again, bro.
Hell yeah, man.
All right, and cut. Yo, appreciate you, bro, a lot, man.
Appreciate you, man.
If you don't mind, can I get you to record a drop real quick? Just say, yo, this is ROMderful. You're checking your
Yeah,
Yo, this is ROMderful. You're tuning in to PlusNTrust Radio. Can you
yeah,
do
for
that?
sure.
All right, cool. And 3, 2, 1.
Yo, this is ROMderful. You're now listening to PlusNTrust Radio.
My guy, I appreciate you, bro. It's real. I'm gonna tap
Appreciate
in
you.
with you on social media, man, and just keep in touch with you throughout. We'll probably try and get up with you once you get closer to the album. What month are you thinking about? Do you know yet, or is it just kind of?
I'm probably thinking to drop it around July, August. I should be done with it in the next month or so. So I'm really, really close to finishing it.
That's what's up, bro. We talked with J a couple of months ago. Cool ass dude.
Yeah, that's my guy, man.
I see why y'all vibe, man. Y'all both cool ass dudes, man.
That's my bro for real. But like, you're super cool as well, man. So this was a fun interview.
I
Because like
appreciate it.
as you know, like some artists don't like doing interviews because you know when people just pop up and ask you the same 4 questions and everyone's just there like, yeah.
Bro. That's what I'm saying. And like this, but this is the thing. So I don't. Let me stop this.